Rise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Wanipigia sishiki, wanitumia ujumbe sijibu. Sijui ni kwa nini, I wish ningekuwa na majibu. I don't want to disappoint you, so I would rather avoid you. But believe me, I feel you, na ni kweli ninajaribu. Lakini moyo wangu huenda du. Every time I think of me and you, I'm afraid that I am going to love you, then later I am going to lose you. Moyo wangu huenda du. Every time I think of me and you, I'm afraid that I am going to love you. But I'm gonna try and give a chance Brain goes 100 miles an hour. I think of everything that could go sour. My heart really wants this to work out, and I'm terrified of getting a blackout. Lord forgive me, I have been running away from my true feelings, and it's time to stop being afraid and face my true self. Lakini moyo wangu huenda du. Every time I think of me and you, I'm afraid that I am going to love you, then later I am going to lose you. Moyo wangu huenda du. Every time I think of me and you, I'm afraid that I am going to love you. But I'm gonna try and give a chance try for you. 'Cause I'm gonna try for you. I'm gonna give my love to you.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
That is Miss Sero with Kuwait. Hey, and it's playing right here on Power Radio. Welcome to the Power Morning Drive Show. My name is Wanyoike and I am your host. This is the 14th of May. The year is 2025. I cannot believe that we are smack into the middle of the year, but not the middle of the year, but the middle of the month. I do not know where this month is running to, but we move on on regardless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Power Morning Drive Show. You can get in touch with us on our social media handles. We are at Power Radio across all socials. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Find us on TikTok. We are also on X and as well on our website, www.power254.org/Power Radio. To just give you a couple of highlights of what to expect on the next 2 hours that we shall be spending this morning with you. We are going to be looking a little bit into the day's traffic updates, and then I'll get into some local and international news on local and international news roundup. And then later on the program, we are going to be talking about building sustainable political futures across the continent of Africa. I am going to be joined by Programs Officer at Future Elect, Ms. Rioba Maseke, and we are going to get a very in-depth conversation about how exactly Future Elect is doing the work of ensuring that they are investing in the democracy. Most work that they do is actually within the continent of Africa, so this is definitely a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. So we shall be talking a little bit about that, and also how do we sustain democratic systems, how do we sustain our political landscapes, and specifically it's, for me, it was something that was quite outstanding, is that they are in the business of focusing mostly on mainstreaming young people, that's the youth, and women into political spaces and shaping narratives around the leadership of young people and women. So definitely catch us as we get into that discussion and much, much more. Anyway, a lot has been happening. The Finnish president is in Kenya. This is the first ever visit from the president of from the Finn president, or rather president from Finland, since 60 years. And so we shall be looking at exactly some of the things that he was able to talk about during his address to the people yesterday, and what exactly it might portend for Kenya economically, for Kenya geopolitically, and also just for the continent of Africa. A lot of speak was around, global South, trade and the global South cooperation, and how the South now, the West and the East is looking down to South, and so a lot of conversations to talk about there as well. And also just a look into the diplomatic connotations or implications of the Finnish president, that is Mr. Alexander Stubb. Yes, so let's first get into the day's local traffic updates, and then we can get into that discussion soon after that. All right, I start off with the High and Mighty Thika Road, and traffic is absolutely crazy this morning. Nothing new anyway. With the traffic actually builds all the way as you go from Clayworks. It's quite crazy this morning. And then it clears out soon after, but as you approach Safari Park, there's a little bit of some traffic there. Actually, not a little bit, a lot of traffic all the way into town. The same situation is also happening on the northern bypass today, actually, from Mirema as you go towards the Kiambu Road. Just a little bit of a snarl up there as well. Same situation happening across along Kiambu Road. Traffic starts all the way just as you leave the intersection that goes into Edenville. Then it builds up all the way till Vindigua, then down towards the DCI area, and then later into Muthaiga, the Muthaiga roundabout. Same situation also happening along Village Market, that is along Limuru Road, from Village Market into Muthaiga. Just a lot of traffic as well. Peponi Road is also looking quite busy this morning, especially as you go towards Westlands. Just heavy traffic as well. Lower Kabete Road not looking any better. From Zen Garden into Spring Valley Police Station, a lot of traffic happening along that route as well. Let's move to Wanyoike Way. Wanyoike Way is looking actually very good this morning. Nothing much to complain about. There's just only a little bit of a build-up as you leave the the address into Westlands, but soon clears out after that. Kikuyu Road, kumeshikana both inbound and outbound, especially as you go towards the Junction Mall. Yes, so you should be able to know that Ngong Road is looking quite hectic this morning. The traffic also spills over to Valley Road as well. So that's a situation happening along that route this morning. Same situation also happening along Langata Road. Quite the heavy traffic situation starts from Nairobi Safari Park down all the way towards the T Mall. Actually, like no exaggeration, there's just a lot of traffic also along Langata Road this morning. It kind of sort of spills over as you go from the T Mall junction towards the Kenyatta roundabout, but the build-up is only around the Strathmore University, then it soon clears out after that. Let's now head over to Mombasa Road. Mombasa Road from Capital Center down towards Bunyala Road, kumeshikana bumper to bumper. Same situation also happening along Jogoo Road. Same situation also happening along Buruburu. As you go towards the Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital as well. I can also see that Embakasi is looking quite busy from the whole stretch on the eastern bypass towards the Cabanas bus stop. A lot of traffic happening this morning. So that's pretty much what's going on major roads this morning, at least in Nairobi. In case the area that you are at, there's a little bit of a traffic or any incident that you would like us to know, please make sure you do send us a message. Again, our social media platforms is Power Radio. The hashtag to use is hashtag Power Morning Drive. We will be right back after this short musical break. Let's take some music and then we come back and talk about what has been happening. Of course, we start with the story that I just hinted about the Finnish president being in the country and what goodies did he come to Kenya with. So keep it Power Radio. We'll see you after this short break.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Kuna vile ningependa kukuona, nikwambie vile nimeshinda, nikueleze yalo moyoni. Kuna vile natamani kuwa nawe, uwe karibu nami, niwe karibu na wewe. But you are far away, so far away, so far from me. Roho yaumia, I am missing my baby. Roho yaumia, I am missing my baby. Kuna vile ningependa tuongee every morning and every night, nikueleze navyohisi. Oh yeah. Kuna vile natamani unishike, uniambie matamu ya roho, ili mimi nitabasamu. But you are far away, so far away, so far from me. Roho yaumia,
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Alexis on the beat. Wewe nani unanipigia simu kama nani? Eti niachane mume wako nani? Unajua Nadia kweli mimi nani?
We ni nani unampigia simu kama nani? Hata utoe vya ndani atarudi hapa kwangu tu nyumbani.
Anapenda vidogodogo mwenzako anavimumunya. Mwanamke unapenda zogo, tafuta jambo hilo la kufanya. Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, kubali yaishe, ni wangu.
Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, mwishowe ataisha, ni wangu. Hivyo vimeseji na kuficha simu havinishtui. Atachoka nawe, wengine aende, yule hakagui.
Kelele ya chura haizui ng'ombe kunywa maji. Kwangu habanduki, kwako hatoboki, na kwa maana ye
Anapenda wife material, mwenzako anakudanganya. Mwanamke una kasoro, tafuta jambo hilo la kufanya. Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, mwishowe ataisha, ni wangu.
oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, kubali yaishe, ni wangu. Mi sitakoma, koma, koma, koma. Mi sitakoma, koma, koma, mama.
Ntakukomboa, komboa, komboa, komboa. Ntakukomboa, komboa, komboa, msichana we. Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, mwishowe ataisha, ni wangu.
Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, kubali yaishe, ni wangu.
Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, mwishowe ataisha, ni wangu.
Oh, ni wangu huyo, nasema ni wangu. Oh, ni wangu, kubali yaishe, ni wangu.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, that is Wangu by the African pop star Miss Nadia Mukami alongside the very talented Sanaipe Tande, and it's playing right here on Power Radio. This is the Power Morning Drive Show. I am Wanyoike. Remember, again, you can get in touch with us on our social media handles. We are at Power Radio across all socials. If you want to tell us where you're tuning in from, where you're listening in from, we would absolutely love to engage you as well. All right, let's get right into our day's news roundup, and let me just start with a quick scan of what is plastered on our national dailies, starting off with the Standard newspaper. The cover page or the cover story is Name the Abductors. President William Ruto's response to a journalist's question on Monday turned out to be self-incriminating, opening the door for renewed calls for him to acknowledge state-sponsored killings and abductions related to the Gen Z uprising. I beg your pardon. Pressure is mounting on the president to follow his admission with concrete action by naming the perpetrators and bringing them to justice. A story that continues on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And just some of the snapshots that I can see from the Standard newspaper that have been highlighted, national voices about this matter. The ex-Chief Justice David Maraga, such utterances are deeply hurtful, especially to parents still mourning the loss of their children. How long shall the lives of innocent Kenyans be so devalued and dismissed. All right, that's a very it's a spot on statement. They are just weighing in on this issue of the abductions, and of course this comes after the president was able to give a speech and saying that the people that had been abducted have now been returned back to back to their families. And of course this is very not retaliatory, but it comes after the president had countless times come out and denied that they are not in any given point they have nothing to do with the abductions that had been ensuing since the 2024 anti-finance bill protest that happened in June. And so right now the president is saying, okay, so yeah, well, oops, my bad, the abductees are now back in their family. I mean, we're constantly having to grapple with a government that is quite two-faced. They say one thing, they do the other. They promise this, then they do not deliver on that as well. I also think that I'm not so sure that I can say this without any fear of contradiction. But even the frequency of just spewing public statements that are very careless. I have not interacted with a government, with a Kenyan government like this one, where the public officers or, the so-called maybe members of parliament and people that we have elected into positions of power, keep giving statements that might really, really throw the citizens off balance if at all they remain unchecked as well. So yeah, so there's that discrepancy, it really sends a very bad message when you have a head of state on one account saying that absolutely nothing, it wasn't me. You remember Shaggy's song, It Wasn't Me? That kind of situation. Yeah, that's what the government has been. It's like we've been playing foul this entire time. But now he comes out and says that, oops, guys, my bad. Yes, the abductees are finally reunited back to their families. Okay, what? Are we supposed to clap our hands and say, oh my God, thank you? Absolutely not. In the first place, this should not even ever have been happening. You cannot abduct people just because they are fighting for their rights. You cannot abduct people just because they are critical of the government. And so, first of all, it's not a progression into a democracy. Number one, that's a very retrogressive thing. The fact that it's 2025 and we are still talking about abducting people and forceful disappearances, we need to do better as a country. Martha Karua, the leader, People's Liberation Party, says this about the same situation. Now that Ruto has acknowledged abductions, he needs to go further and acknowledge extrajudicial killings and disappearances and take steps to have the culprits, including those captured in the BBC documentary, held accountable. And I agree with Martha Karua. I absolutely agree with her because you see, there's something that we do in this country that, it kind of just really, again, messes the social fabric of this country. And if at all you really want to dry the swamp, please dry the whole swamp. Everybody involved, everybody included. Up to now, I know that the Rex Masai case that was the hearing was happening sometime this week, or was it last week? I think I get it mixed up, but within last week and this week, the Rex Masai case, only we are getting to hear that the hearings have been opened up, and then of course there was a report that 104 cases of death that resulted from the June 2024 protests are the ones that have been documented as well. But we've not even had anything regarding, for example, the police brutality, the police officers that were behind these brutal shootings. Have they been brought to book, right? Is the director of public prosecution doing anything to ensure that the everybody that was involved, whether it's the killings, whether it's the abductions, whether it's whatever it might be, as long as people were people's human rights were infringed and we can trace back to who exactly it was, then if we really are about justice and upholding the dignity of our people and protecting the people of Kenya, then dry the whole swamp. If one goes, because one too many, so one death is way too many. So yeah, I think I completely agree with what Martha Karua is saying. She's saying that we need to stop just making public spectacles of one or two big stories, and then the rest we just move on as if nothing happens. If you are really serious about accountability, you should be serious about accountability across all levels, and ensure that every case, every life is accounted for and justice is served accordingly. So yeah, then we also have Hussein Khalid, the CEO of Vocal Africa. It's a human rights group. We are ready to present these families to meet with President Ruto at a place and time of his choosing, so that he may hear firsthand from those whose loved ones are still missing. Healing and justice begins with acknowledgement, not denial. This, of course, is a country where we tell our people to move on, sympathize and move on. So yeah, so that's what's happening. I think we will just have to keep a very close eye to seeing what exactly comes out of this entire. It's a continuous conversation for sure. June 2024 was not just a moment. I mean, it changed Kenya for forever. I don't want to say for the better, but yeah. I mean, parts of it, yes. Mostly, power to the people for taking up this baton and ensuring that they render their voice to a country which they want to live in, and a country that they want to work and fight for. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on what comes out of this kind of conversations as well. Right, but moving quite along, on the Daily Nation, the cover page revealed the path to senior high schools. It's a story here that some 1.2 million learners in grade 9 will, in the next 2 weeks, begin selecting their preferred schools based on their chosen career paths ahead of the Kenya Junior School Association. All right, so that's a story that continues on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. We also have a story here on UHC, that's the Universal Health Coverage Program protest. Staff occupy Afya House to make demands. A story that continues on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Then there's an impending Mwilu faces ouster over Gachagua impeachment case. The petition against Deputy Chief Justice follows a High Court ruling that she usurped the powers of her boss to appoint a bench of judges that lifted an order blocking the swearing in of Professor Kindiki Kithure as Deputy President. Then City Hall askar is implicated in sex for hawking space scandal. A story on page 3. Damn, my God, what is this country even coming to? All right, then on the Business Daily, Dangote-backed fund buys Kenyan tour farm for 4 billion Kenya shillings. We also have a story about the super rich shift cash to UK, Dubai on Gen Z protests. The story there, again on the cover page of the Business Daily. There's also a story on to appreciate the true depth of our economic issues, consider the trends in real wages in Kenya over the last decade. A story that continues on page 9 of the Business Daily. And then, of course, to the story that I had started talking about here. The Finnish president, Mr. Alexander Stubb, I don't know whether that's how you pronounce it. I'm not so sure that that's how you pronounce it. But yes, he is in Kenya, and it's been 60 years actually since Kenya's independence that a president from Finland is coming into Kenya. And so yesterday, during his address of the press and also some of the conversations that were happening across many platforms, is that he did capture things that like young people should not be spectators. Yes, he did call upon young people to kind of rise up and ensure that they are plugged into the conversations and ensuring that they are not missing out on what exactly the whole world is looking at. And then he also talked about the allyship between Kenya and Finland, and he said that the Finnish borders are open, and that we do have a good, close working relationship with Kenya. Them as Finland and we as Kenya right here, and that he also promised that they're working on implementing some of these memorandums of understanding between the two states, between the two governments, to ensure that we kind of strengthen our economic ties. He also talked a lot about bilateral trade. He also said something crucial about, the global South cooperation, and the fact that a lot of because the conversations for the longest time have been the world looking west and the world looking east, the UK, the US and China. Right now, I think, he actually kept saying that there's the new world order. We are currently living in the dispensation of the new world order, and his idea of the new world order, or some of the hints that he was able to give of the new world order, is that a lot of the development world is going to be looking towards Africa, given the circumstances. And he actually specifically said that Kenya is one of the countries that kind of will be the springboard of, this kind of reset, diplomatic reset, economic reset as well. He did mention that also a lot of conversations right now economically between countries are to do with not aid but trade. So a lot of intra and inter trade between countries, both north and south cooperation as well. And so just a little bit about basically where the world is going. Right now we've just come out of a whole economic battle between the US and China, which again they did have a final consensus on the tariffs and the trade wars that are going on between these two superpower of countries. Yesterday we saw that President Trump is in the United Arab Emirates right now. He's doing his tour within some of these Arabian countries as well. He mentioned that he's gonna lift up some sanctions from the UAE. I forget which particular country specifically. But so you see, so there's like a new reset button happening in Africa. But of course, I am always skeptical when it comes to such conversations, because we have seen it before and it might happen again. It's the scramble for Africa. Well, it was colonial in the first phase. Right now it's economic, but it doesn't change anything, So the only thing that we can, I guess, to master, or if we want to make something out of this new world order, perhaps, is how do we negotiate better for ourselves? So Africans need to really negotiate better. Let's ensure that we are not there as just what Africa has been before, which everybody kind of, like, we're the token child. Everybody knows exactly what they are coming into the continent to take from us, but we never go in with the mindset of we actually have A, B, C, and D, and we are no longer just a marketplace. We are not your playground. We are equal partners, if not more, if not the leaders of this partnership. Because let's be honest, we would not have a developed world if Africa was not Africa. We quite literally built and helped develop this European and Western countries, because most of the raw materials that they used to develop their countries come from Africa up to this day, so there's not even a post-colonial era in Africa. Even up to today, the exploitation is still going on. So anyway, that leads us to the end of our local and international news roundup. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be talking to Ms. Maseke Rioba. She's the programs officer at Future Elect East Africa, and we are going to be looking at what they are doing at Future Elect, some incredible work that they are doing there to strengthen democracies across the continent of Africa as well. And we shall be asking the question, what does it take to build sustainable democratic and political futures in the continent of Africa? So let me take a quick breather. We come back and we get into that conversation. You can start sending in your questions right now so that when she comes here, she will be able to tackle them as we go along. Keep it Power Radio.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
It's so hard to leave. Sing me a song when I am gone from you. It's so hard to leave. Sing me a song when I am gone from you. I won't be gone for long. Sing me a song when I am far from you. I won't be gone for long. Sing me a song when I am far from you, far from you. When all the lights fade and there's nowhere in the world to go, I know I would rather stay, but then again I'm unsure. Simpler times have all but faded, but I can't stay all the same. Simpler times have all but faded, but I can't stay all the same. Mama's wailing, Mongo's wailing from home. Mama's wailing, don't go away 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 from me. Mama's wailing, don't go away from me. Mama's wailing, begging you to stay. The class gathered by the road, nowhere in the world's the same. You're better off staying home. Simpler times have all but faded. I can't stay all the same. Simpler times have all but faded. I can't stay all the same. Simpler times have all but faded. I can't stay all the same. Simpler times have all but faded. I can't stay all the same. when I am gone from you. It's so hard to leave. Sing me a song when I am gone from you. I won't be gone for long. Sing me a song when I am far from you. I won't be gone for long. Sing me a song when I am far from you, far from you.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Each and every day mawazo yake kwenye mind hayanitoki na sichoki. The kind of love that you only dream of to live through eternity.
Penzi nakuwaza mimi every time when you're not next to me. Na ukiwa nami when you're holding me tight, mwili wangu haustop to shiver.
Thinking about the way I would be missing out on all the tender loving and care without you, my dear.
I cannot fathom or entertain the idea of not having you here. I'd shed a tear.
Baby, you're the only one for me. Unitoki kwa mawazo, ni wewe unafaa kuwa nami. Exclusive for you, it's exclusive. Surely you're the only one for me. Chaguo langu toka mwanzo, na nimezama kwako. Exclusive for you, it's exclusive. Reminiscing about the loving that we made, truly intimate. Cupid have to navigate, loving from a lion, true emotion never late. Nikupe penzi moto kama kuon maliet.
Nami napenda unavutia effort so effortlessly. You drive me crazy when you roar. Tender loving kissing kwenye mwili with my head on my feet. I miss you, my baby.
Thinking about the way I would be missing out on all the tender loving and care without you, my dear.
I cannot fathom or entertain the idea of not having you here. I'd shed a tear. Ooh, baby, you're the only one for me. Unitoki kwa mawazo, ni wewe unafaa kuwa nami. Exclusively, it's exclusive. Surely you're the only one for me. Chaguo langu toka mwanzo, na nimezama kwako. Exclusively, it's exclusive.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. You are still tuning into the Power Morning Drive Show with me, and Wanyoike. And as promised, my guest is already in studio. We are going to be looking at what does it take to build political, sustainable political and democratic systems across the continent of Africa. So if you have any questions for my guest, please shoot them on our website. You can shoot them on our social media handles, Power Radio across social media, PAWA, that's Power Radio, and we shall be sure to get into that discussion, answer all your questions, and let us know where you're tuning in from. And I want to give a special shout out to Miss Shawnee Garber. She's saying she's listening in from South Africa, excited for the discussion with Maseke. Thank you so much, Miss. Yes, and I was taught how to say hello in Zulu. I forget. Oh my God. I'll remember. Yes, but thank you so much. And please say hello to the South Africans over there. Send them our love from Nairobi, Kenya. Good morning, Miss Maseke. How are you?
Good morning.
Hi.
I am well. I'm
Yes.
loving the weather. I am loving the space.
Yes.
I think I got here and all the colors I've seen,
Yeah.
as well as the art on the wall,
Right.
has brought a lot of life into my life.
Amazing.
So I'm feeling sunny.
Okay, you're feeling sunny.
Yes.
And even the weather today is really sunny. So we are pretty excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So for the people that maybe do not know who you are, kindly introduce yourself and a little bit about the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Maseke Rioba. So to start with, my background is in communication.
Right.
when I finished Form 4, I was inspired by 3 movies.
Yeah.
Suits, How to Get Away with Murder,
Yeah.
and Olivia Pope. I'm forgetting the name of the movie.
Scandal.
And I wanted so much to contribute to politics.
Okay.
But from a communications point of view.
Gotcha.
And then I started working with non-governmental organizations when I was in university. And now I have driven myself into programs.
Yes.
So my background is in communications and programs. I currently serve as the East Africa Programs Officer for Future Elect.
Big people, guys. Big people. Yeah, we don't joke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little
Mama,
bit
I
about...
made it.
Mom, I made it.
Yeah.
Kidogo nataka kutuma salamu kwa...
Please. Send all the salams. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit about Future Elect.
Yes.
Our CEO and founder, Lindiwe Mazibuko, was the first female leader of opposition in South Africa.
Right.
And after she left politics while she was in Harvard, she was getting a lot of questions from Africans about how can I lead better, what can I do better, about politics in Africa.
Right.
And when she was creating this program, she was tailoring it for a younger version of her. What she wanted was to inspire more young Africans with the skills and tools for them to get into political leadership.
Yes.
So Future Elect basically is a non-partisan, non-profit organization that is training upcoming ethical political leaders on ethical leadership.
Right.
And we are currently active in South Africa as well as East Africa. We will soon be establishing ourselves in... So we're in South and East. We will soon be establishing ourselves in West Africa.
Okay.
And what we do is we have civic education programs as well as leadership programs for upcoming political leaders where they get to learn the technical skills as well as networking with other ethical political leaders already in existence so that they can know how to better govern and serve Africans as well as their constituents.
Amazing. So that's a little bit about Future Elect. Shone has told me it's Sawubona. Sawubona, South Africa. Thank you for that. I promise I'll not forget it. Right. So you've given us a little bit of a scope of the work that Future Elect does, and I know that you are in the business of mainstreaming young people and women as well, in the democratic futures of Africa, whether it's the political landscape. There's also a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to the political spaces, especially it locks out young people, it locks out women. So why was it important for Future Elect to kind of focus on these two special groups and ensure that we are opening up the space for the active engagement of young people and women as well?
So I'll start with a question back at you.
Yes.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
So let's look at statistics first. African women make up about 50.3% of the continent's population.
Yeah.
But they only account for 27% when it comes to political representation.
And Rwanda is leading the chart.
Leading.
Rwanda is doing the Lord's work.
At about 60%.
Yeah.
And then we look at maybe, let's say, East Africa. 80% of the population are youthful. However, less than 10% of them are represented in politics. And you find that about the median age is around 40, 50, 60. And you're like, take a step back. If I am 20-something, because a woman never tells her age, 20-something to 30 there.
Well.
And half the people who are, not half, 3/4 of the people who are leading me are at 60 and 70. How will they be developing policies and planning for my future? Yet my voice, me who's going to be present in that future, is not represented.
Right.
So we start from there.
Yeah.
The statistics show a growing gap between the actual population that exists and the number of people represented. And aside from representation, because it's not just about representation, if we look at countries like Rwanda, if we look at Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, we have gender quotas. Gender quotas are where constitutionally governments are required to have a specific number. Let's talk about Kenya, for example, where we are required to have the 2/3 gender rule, that not more than 2/3 can belong to one gender. But you find even in Kenya itself, we've not achieved that. So while gender quotas exist as well, meaningful participation is not necessarily achieved. And meaningful participation is important because the challenge that comes from gender quotas is we re-emphasize the fact that maybe elected positions are only for men and women are now coming in as nominated. And so that questions the authority of the person who's given that position. It also comes back to issues such as tokenism. People feel like, okay, you've been handed this particular nomination, but you have to do what I say in that position. So meaningful participation is not there. And then when we look at youth, there is already youth exclusion exists.
Right.
So if we are talking about 80% of the population in East Africa being youth, but less than 10% of them sitting on the decision-making table, then it's a problem that needs to be addressed. So the reason why these particular programs are extremely important is because the numbers are not adding up. There are no checks and balances. There's no accountability. And overall, for active political participation to take place, we have to shift the mindset of people. A lot of young people feel that politics is a dirty word. Many young people don't want to associate with the word politics because I don't want to be seen as corrupt.
Right.
I don't want to be seen as somebody who's serving my own interest. And so shifting that mindset, not just of the individual, but also of the community, will help us in the long term that when we are getting to things like Agenda 63 or we are looking at 10 years from now, when people are getting into office, they're getting in for the right reasons and not for self-serving interests or not to perpetuate the already existing stereotypes.
You do mention about the Agenda 63, and of course, perhaps for somebody who might not know, this is the Agenda 2063, goals for stipulated for the African continent by the Africa Union. Are there some of the things that have been stipulated in that plan that the work of future elects also tries to mainstream and highlight as well on?
I think I'll speak to it generally and not specifically,
sure.
not just Agenda 63, but even looking at things such as sustainable development goals. And we start with the conversation or the question that you've just asked.
Yes.
Why women and children?
Right.
We are looking at gender equality. We are looking at more meaningful inclusion. And when you look at one thing about our program, I think we'll get deeper into it, so let me not touch on that yet. But when we help different people who are coming up in politics to interact with politicians themselves across different countries. So we've had politicians from Zimbabwe come to Kenya. We've had politicians from Kenya go to South Africa to speak to fellows. That not necessarily intergenerational, but inter-country connection is helping, is somehow responding to some of these pillars in things like Agenda 63 and SDGs. But what's very important for me is the aspect of gender equality, as well as the aspect of inclusive government.
Gotcha. Yes. Right. So let's just get into the program now. You do run training programs, multiple training programs. And as I was researching for this, I went to your website and it has quite the extensive, I was just like, oh, okay. So when I wake up one day, me as Wanyoike, and I want to vie for a seat in my constituency, for example, there are so many things that I have to look at and consider. Talk about things like vision and constituency mapping. You guys talk. You also teach people about the importance of understanding your public narrative. You also have things like understanding realities of public life, and the list goes on and on and on. So. First of all, I'm quite, I think the question that I want to ask is, why was it important that you train up people in these main pillars? Because we just assume that if you want to become a member of parliament, you just get up, go campaign, and you move on and you get into power. But then you come and say, wait a minute. We're trying to train up the next crop of leaders that are very aware of what's happening, not only within their constituencies, but also the holistic approach to it is like, how do you frame a public narrative? How do you understand exactly, maybe your manifestos? How does it translate to the people that you're leading? So just tell us a little bit about the training program, the robust training program, just like how it's packaged and everything that comes with it.
Thank you. You've mentioned the word train up a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's taken me back to something our mother used to instill in us when we were growing up. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he grows, he will not depart from it. And it's kind of the same way, at least in my own opinion.
Yeah.
You've got to train yourself in how you should be.
Yeah.
So that when you're getting into these spaces, you'll not depart from it. But that's just a side thought that came up.
Yeah.
So let me tell you more about the program. And I think this is the fun bit, especially for me, because this is what I get to deal with. Exactly.
Yes.
When you look at our pillars, you notice they go back to our programs. We have the Southern Africa and East Africa Public Leadership Programs. These are seven intensive seminar weekends that are carried over 9 months.
Okay.
They mainly target youth and women between ages of 18 to 45.
All right.
That's where we start from.
Right.
Then we have women in public office. South Africa. It's going to be launched in East Africa in November 2025.
Okay.
And also for the public leadership programs, it's going to be launched in West Africa very soon. So the one for women targets women who are already elected in office. There are systemic barriers, there are cultural barriers, and there are technical barriers in how women experience political leadership. And so holding their hands, or not necessarily holding their hands, but giving them an opportunity to understand is what happens in this particular program. And that happens for 5 seminar weekends. So they have 5 seminar weekends where they discuss different topics. I'm going to get into that shortly.
Yeah.
Then we have the civic education.
Okay.
So we do have an app as an organization where,
What is it called? The Future Elect?
Actually, when you get to the Future Elect website, you're able to get into the civic app as well.
But so can you access it on Play Store?
You can access it on Play Store. You can access it on App Store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
I'll pin a thought on that, because I wanted to ask about the digital transformation and the work that you guys do. But keep going on.
Absolutely. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
So when you look at the fact that over 500 million Africans can access the internet, civic education, placing it on a small village that somebody from South Africa, Botswana, Namibia can access easily is a good thing.
Right.
And finally, we have the alumni program. So this is a 5-year program, especially for the public leadership program and the women's program, where you continue to be held accountable, you continue to learn skills for a duration of 5 years post you completing our cohorts.
Right.
When you look at what we offer in the public leadership program, and this targets political leaders, we look at we have 3 guiding pillars.
Okay.
The transactional aspect, transformational aspect, and the systems aspect.
Okay.
When we talk about transformational, we look at internal changes that you need to effect in yourself. And that's where we go back to the public narrative.
Right.
If you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your principles are, if you don't know what you stand for, when you get into office, what then happens is you're swayed in any direction because you yourself do not have a stand. You have to have an idea of what you want to fight for. You look at some ministers are very keen on education. Let's use an example of Honorable Crystal Asige, who just had a bill passed.
Yeah.
She focused on the rights of people living with disabilities.
Right.
That's the hill she's willing to die on.
Yeah.
So what's your hill? What's your story? What's your background and whatnot? So in the transformational, we look at the internal bit of you, shaping that so that by the time you're getting into political leadership, you have an idea of who you are, what you want to achieve for your constituents, and what the impact will be long term. Transactional, on the other hand, looks at the interactions in policies, interactions with political leaders. What are they experiencing? So when you look at things like the elements of a public life or whatnot, you get to learn them through the transactional side. So in the transactional, our fellows get to engage with a lot of political leaders across the continent, policy leaders and whatnot. And finally, on systems, they get to engage with the knowledge side of it. You know, it's not just about talking and seeing lived experiences. It's also learning about the theories.
Yeah.
It's learning about the policies.
Yeah.
It's understanding how different governments are wired. So to sum these three up, what I would say is this. We focus so much on electoral cycles that sometimes we forget there's a lot of work that goes in once you get into power.
Yes.
So our programs also tackle that.
Okay.
What does it look like when you get into power?
And what does it look like when you actually get into power? What is the next after now you're into power?
So it's dependent on the country you belong to.
Okay.
It's also dependent on whether you went for national office or whether you went for local office. So the context will differ,
right.
varying on the different countries, the different constitutions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our 7 seminar weekends, because this goes back to the pillars of the organization. We start with a public narrative where you get to understand your personal journey. Then we get into the state of your nation. So this is the vision and the constituency. How does it look like? Why this particular seminar weekend and conversation is very important is what you've just said. We often think policy is just jumping into it and moving on. But what's the historical context that's gotten your country to where it is? What are the freedoms you enjoy? What are those that you don't enjoy? What's the relationship between borders? What are the different countries around you and what's that relationship look like?
Yeah.
It's very important to have that context when you're getting into office, because then it will not only help you with how you deal with your constituents and your country, but also how you relate with other people.
Right.
Third, we look at the elements of a public life. How is it going to impact you as an individual? How is it going to impact your families? There's an article that was done by, is it Professor Bitangendemo, I think, when it was on the dailies, and it said, when he left office, his phone ceased to ring. What happens when you're elected into office and what happens when you lose? What's that interaction going to look like?
Yeah.
How does your family get affected? When you read, or rather, let's just use an example of X right now, how people are being castigated just for being involved with a particular politician, that, this is your father, we punish you for the sins of your father. How is that the mental aspect and whatnot? You get to understand those realities.
Yeah.
Because politics is not just about sweetness. There's also
the rough side.
There's the rough side.
Yeah.
So for the 4th seminar weekend, we look at the ethics in itself.
Okay.
What does a taste of power look like? When you can make decisions with the snap of your hand. When you can effect, or rather, when you can make policies that affect people. But also, on the other hand, how does it look like for you to make decisions that are not going to be for your self-interest, but for your constituents? And then we look at campaigns.
Right.
How does campaigns look like? You know, sometimes we tend to think it's just, Sawa, hi, my name is Anne, I want to run for MCA. But what does that process look like?
Right.
You need to do research. You need to talk to your constituents. You need a budget and whatnot. It's a lot of work. Finally, we have the leadership by design, where we look at governance. How are you going to lead your constituents? How are you going to prioritize the needs of your constituencies? Because what people need in Mandera might not necessarily be what people need in Nairobi.
Right.
Challenges are different.
Yeah.
So that's what we cover. And I can say, when you look at it from start to finish, you notice it comes full circle.
Yes.
We've dealt with the internal, we've dealt with the external, and we've also dealt with the knowledge aspect.
Right. Yeah. No, this is really good, because I do not think, I've not, in my experience of politicians, I mean, in my work, I deal with a lot of them, and even aspiring people. Rarely do I come across politicians or politically aspiring people that internally they've done the work. And so I think this is very, very important. The kind of holistic approach to the political challenges that we're facing, and also the democratic challenges that we're facing in the continent of Africa. Now, that's really cool. And of course, we will get into the details of how can people sign up and much, much later on the program. But you know, a lot of your work is across the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
And my next question to you is, in your work and in your interactions with, you know, the people that come into the training sessions, and you get to hear their conversations about what is happening in their home countries, how do democracies across the continent of Africa compare to each other? If at all there are any comparisons or lessons that we can pick from across the different countries that you work in?
I think I'd focus more on the lessons.
Yeah.
Comparison will be there's a concept I learned recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an English word. And somebody was teaching us about the concept of on behalfism, where we speak on behalf of, where we talk on behalf of, and sometimes we might not have the entire picture.
Yeah.
So when we look at democracies, I think some of the lessons that I've personally picked, especially from people we've interacted with, is that we are making progressive strides in Africa with regards to democracy. We cannot say we are there yet, but we can see that progress is being made. One of the lessons that I've learned that's very critical, in one seminar weekend, we had an honorable member from Zimbabwe, Honorable Fadzai Mahere, who came to speak to our fellows on leadership by design. And she was telling us of a context in her country where something had not gone right, and she ended up resigning because there are certain things that happen that require for an ethical public leader to actually resign from their position.
Yes.
And so that was the first thing I learned. There's an aspect of servant leadership that we can borrow from other countries where you do things that are right, not just for you, but also for not just for you, but especially for your constituents. That's one. Number two, I think one other thing I've picked is how policies are developed will determine how development works in your country. So politicians have a heavy responsibility to develop policies that are cognizant of the needs of particular people.
Yeah.
So let's use a practical example. If you want to build a level 5 hospital and you're given Nairobi County and Isiolo County, which will be the more reasonable county to build it at?
I mean, I would go to Isiolo.
You would go to Isiolo?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I'd do the contrary. I'd go to Nairobi.
Why?
Because I'd look at it from the perspective of, in Nairobi, people have access. One, let's say something like public transport, there's access. So it's going to be very easy because we're assuming it's one hospital that's being built. So if it's being built at the center, can people access it? Is there security to ensure that when I'm getting from point A to point B, I will reach? What's the distance looking like? And say that with Isiolo then, we are looking at people are living in maybe far areas, they're very distant. So we need to bring maybe maternal clinics closer to them so that the mortality rate is controlled. Mothers can get to the clinics easier and whatnot. So understanding the needs of your constituents and then now shaping policies that respond to that goes back to servant leadership.
Right.
The second thing I've picked is democracies will only continue to be built when we put the interests of the people ahead of personal interest. And I think maybe this is a call for more youth to ask themselves, okay, now that we are talking about taking charge of our countries and doing things differently, how do we ensure that first we are ready to take up those positions? So just understanding what the needs are. And finally, what else have I picked with regards to democracy?
Yeah.
I think those two would have to
majorly,
do putting the needs of your constituencies first.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I want us to take a little bit of a break here, but before I do that, yes, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Power Morning Drive. We are still having a conversation today. The meats and the bones of the discussion is, what does it take to build Africa's sustainable political and democratic systems? And we have the pleasure of having the conversation with Miss Maseke. What? I wanted to say Rioba. Maseke, yes. And we are going to be taking a short break. And let me just read a couple of the comments that are coming in right now. We have Rhoda Rioba. That sounds like someone you know.
Tuma salamu nyumbani.
Tuma salamu nyumbani, please. She says, well done, Maseke. Your fans. Umelipa na watu pesa ngapi wewe? Thank you so much for tuning in. Please, while at it, subscribe to Power Radio so that we can continue having these discussions. And then we also have Megan Kibet, and Asema, this message should also be streaming on our local media stations for it to reach as many as possible in order to liberate this country and continent at large. Yeah, that's why Power Radio exists. And we also have Nana Mosetti, serious gems being dropped in the conversation. Well done, Miriam Rioba. Now I know your other name.
You will know all my names.
All your names. Today I have to know all your names. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for the feedback. And again, if you have any questions as pertaining to the conversation that we are having, please shoot them, and I'm sure that Miss Maseke will be ready with the answers that you have. Let's take a quick breather. When we come back, we talk a little bit about, okay, so now that we are, yes, in this continent of Africa, and the work that Future Elect is doing, you know, there's a lot of partnership and collaboration to ensure that we have intra-Africa. You know, everybody is talking about intra-Africa this and that, intra-Africa trade, intra-Africa economic collaboration. So I want us to explore, what does intra-Africa political partnerships also mean? And is there something for the books for us as well? And then also we look at the transitions that are happening across the continent of Africa right now, politically. I mean, we are in the era where we have the rise of Akina Ibrahim Traore. What does that portend for the democracies of Africa as well? So let's take a quick breather. We'll be right back. Do not move a muscle. See you after this short break.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Let's get it.
From outer space, out of this world, we come in peace, tell your master all. We are taking over this place right now. But bring your crew, you can let them know. We in town, they should dress up for the show. We are bringing down this town tonight, oh. In an African party, we stomp our feet on the ground. We raise our hands in the air and say, hey, hey, hey. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare mademu na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, mpaka kesho jo. Washanare mademu na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu.
Imagine, hivyo ndo muingianga kwa klabu, aujasikia tunakula life na adabu na masela sela. Wana hela umenijazka hiu. Mase hela ni jui basi tela ni king kaka, king of Zamunda. Tuko ndani na tumedunga kaka, clothing bado mtumba. Mina manager tuko tight, anajua mini spend thrift. Meza drinks nimezipanga kama Tetris.
In an African party, we stomp our feet on the ground. We raise our hands in the air and say, hey, hey, hey. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare mademu na machali tu. Usijali tu, usijali hali niko wanajua.
Jagged, yow, I go like boom, 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 boom. Mikono kwa hewa nikifika tu kwa boom, 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 boom. As I be rolling when I be the cruiser, boom, boom. Get out the way. I'm feeling like money today. I'm here to pour it up all over the club. I'm willing to pay, so that's how I plan to go and tap it. Hey y'all, fee what up? Let's make it happen. I'm here to get it cracking. Shorties are telling me that I'm attractive, cause they be feeling the swag. I'm classic. Call me Papa Jones, and that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washa nale mademu na machali tu. Usijali hali wanajua. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washa nale mademu na machali tu. Usijali hali wanajua. Luka, oh.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
That's what he said to me. Rudi nyumbani, doesn't matter what you did. Shoka Moshe, that's what he said to me. Rudi nyumbani, doesn't matter what you did. Oh, oh,
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, welcome back. That is Miss Stacy Kamatu with Rudi Nyumbani, and it's playing right here on Power Radio. This is the Power Morning Drive Show. My name is Wanyoike, and I am your host. And we are still here with Maseke Rioba. She is a programs officer at Future Elect East Africa, and we have been looking at the work that they are doing to ensure that we are building sustainable political and democratic futures across the continent of Africa. But again, thank you so much. I see you guys, whoever is tuning in. Much love to y'all. Let me just give a quick shout out to Rhoda Rioba, Megan Kibet, Nana Moseti. We also have Future Elect, actually, Sawubona, as I've just learned. The greetings there from South Africa. They're saying this is a great conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for creating the time. We also have our own boy, DJ CJ Kenya. He's saying, good morning, good people. Just from listening to Linturi's stupidity, hope for better on this side. Well, somebody's halty this morning, but we digress. But thank you so much, DJ CJ, as well, for tuning in this morning. Right, let's just continue with our discussion today. And when we were having a conversation earlier, you did mention about an app, and I wanted to know about how can we leverage the power of the technology, the power of the digital era. You know, we're talking about artificial intelligence right now. Do you see an opportunity for us to leverage that in the conversation around building democracies and political futures in the continent of Africa? And how can we invest in digital leverage for democracy? Yeah.
I see, honestly, to start off, I see a lot of potential. And let me just start with the Future Elect Civic app. So for us to achieve active citizenry as a continent, we have to increase civic education across the continent. We have to give more people an opportunity to understand what it means to be part of political systems, what it means to engage, what it means to be involved. And part of people understanding those things is giving them the information. What does it look like to have, or rather, what's your responsibility as a citizen in local governments? What's your responsibility in national governments? What is public participation and all those things? You see, it's like a baby being taught, let's say a child who speaks Kiswahili and English being spoken to in French and Spanish. Kuna kitu hawataelewa in between. There will be a disconnect.
For sure.
So to bridge that disconnect, you equip that person with the skills they need to serve best in their community. And that's why I personally feel the Future Elect Civic app is very important. Currently, it's operating in Southern Africa. And when you look at the particular modules that are in there, you get to learn things like, what does the electoral process look like? A lot of people don't know what the electoral process looks like. A lot of people don't understand that perhaps if I am a candidate, I need to have, is it a reporting officer or whatnot on elections day on the ground and whatnot. So it gives context into that. It gives context into things like, at least for East Africa, when it comes to East Africa, it will give context into what's the difference between national government and local government. What's the difference between the roles of the MCA and the MP? If you're going for public participation, or rather, if you want to take part in public participation but can't go there directly, what else can you do? So AI and technology in general is bringing up an opportunity that will ensure there is no excuse as to why we can't reach to the ground.
Right.
You know, previously we've been saying, hakuna budget ya kuenda all the way to Mandera to speak to, I don't know, people there. But you see, when elections come, there's
they part the Red Sea.
So sustainability now comes in with technology where a lot of information that individuals needs to know can be packaged into small size 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute videos, explainer videos for people to understand, oh, this is what things look like and this is where I can plug myself into. But to answer the question in general, whether there are opportunities, there are opportunities. More than 500 million Africans can access the internet.
Wow.
And we're also noticing an increase in access to electricity and also mobile phone usage. It's constantly growing. So the question then becomes, isn't this an opportunity now for us to actively engage with these people so that when people go on Twitter, it's not just about fighting each other, but it's also an opportunity for people to learn.
Right.
There's YouTube, there's whatnot. So there is room for governments to engage their constituents through technology and through using social media. The only question is, how soon can they do it?
How soon can they do it? And I mean, you do say that over 500 million Africans on the continent have access to this, but you see also there's always the issue of the digital divide. I mean, we are talking about a continent where the population is 1.5 billion people. So 500 million people, that's a good number, but there's still a big chunk of people that do not even understand what is going on in the world, like digitally, just having that kind of access. So if it comes down to it, how do you think we need to bridge the gap to ensure that we are reaching the people that are, for lack of a better word, unreachable in that regard?
Let me give you a practical example.
Yes,
I'm
please.
Kurian. I come from the Kurian tribe.
Yeah.
You know
And
that.
I was, let me tell you guys, for context, so Kuria is one of the tribes in Kenya.
In Kenya, yeah.
Mostly found along the border.
Kenya-Tanzania border.
Kenya-Tanzania border. And when I met her for the first time, I was like a child at the candy shop. I was like, I have never met a Kuria in my entire life.
Here I am.
Here you are.
In flesh and
you
blood.
guys are real. They taught us that you guys are endangered
Abakuria.
species.
Kidogo we are an endangered.
Apparently, you
in Kenya
guys-
especially.
Seriously?
Yeah, because of
Yeah?
course Koreans are also there in Tanzania. But why I mentioned that is because when it comes to access, let me use an example of Korea because that's a lived
That's your-
experience for me
yes.
that I can use.
Yes, please.
When you look at development, you notice that perhaps, and this is my own opinion, perhaps other Koreans will not feel the same way. I feel like somehow there are things that take time to get to us.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in there, deep in the village. Where
yeah.
perhaps there's no electricity, where there's no maybe access to tarmac roads and whatnot.
And no abductions.
And
yeah. I know you guys don't have access to abductions. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But anyway, I digress.
But anyway, yeah. So you realize that, yes, while the aspect of technology will not work there, we can integrate what we have because it's not just about technology. Those are communities where things like community barazas are still active.
That's beautiful.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it goes beyond, technology is just one way through which we can reach the people.
Right.
But community outreach still exists.
Yeah.
People who are influential within the community talking to their communities still exist. CSOs that are doing civic education, even if the space is shrinking, still exists. So for me, it's a matter of integrating offline methods and online methods
right.
depending on the needs of the people in that constituency.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep going back to understanding your constituents because where technology does not work, let's continue with outreach.
Yeah.
Let's continue using another practical example. Before I went to now working with INGOs, I was working at Nubian Rights Forum in Kibera. And this is a marginalized community in Kenya at risk of statelessness.
Yeah.
And you'd notice public addresses in the community like, tangazo, this is happening on this day. There will be a legal aid clinic. There will be this. So mechanisms do exist that we can use both offline and offline as long as we understand the needs of the constituents in that particular region.
That is very well articulated. Thank you so much for that as well. Now let's shift gears to the program, the training program as well. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of the program, right?
Yeah.
Take us through the response, first of all, that the program has had in terms of the people that your target market, your target audience. How has the response for them been? And then for the people that have gone through the training programs, what are the success rates looking like? What are some of the biggest impact and success stories from the program? Yes, give us a little bit of that tea.
So I will start with my own. I like calling it my child. So we had the first cohort of the East Africa Public Leadership Program.
All right.
They graduated in February 2025, so a few days ago.
So just the other day. Congratulations. Yeah.
And when we were starting, our fellows were very divided. Not divided as in amongst themselves, but of course there were the feelings of, do I want to run? Do I not want to run? Is this something I'm willing to pursue? And then you'd also notice conversations where somebody wants to shape policies or somebody else wants to influence budgets and whatnot. But then there was no clear understanding of then, does this responsibility that I want to handle fall under national government in my country or is it in local government? Especially with devolution, you really need to understand if you're targeting health sector, which part of it are you targeting? If you're targeting education, And by the time we were graduating, 55% of our fellows were sure that they will be running in the next elections.
And it's coming up.
So we have Tanzania in 2025. We have Uganda in 2026. We have Kenya in 2027.
That's
These are all
that's
people,
3 years of, oh my God, a lot is
3
happening
years
across.
of back-to-back election cycles. So that in itself, the conversion rate, seeing that close to 60% of our first cohort are sure of where they are running and declaring that they're running in itself is a success.
Right.
Secondly, I look at it from the aspect of our entire cohort, or rather our entire alumni. So we have close to 200 fellows already across Africa, Southern Africa as well as East Africa, who've gone through the program. And within this
Cohort.
Within these fellows, we already have people who are actively participating in politics.
Okay.
Let me give an example of Honorable Malebo Kobe, who was part of our women's program in Southern Africa. She vied, she won. So it's not just her, there are more people that have gone through this program and ran for office, especially when you look at our alumni from the Southern African side. And for East Africa, I think I'm going to come back here in 2025, end of 2025, end of 2026, and end of 2027, so that we go through the names
and just like track the progress.
And you see, active politics also goes beyond elected office. It also goes to the people who are serving either as whips in their countries or they're leading political parties and whatnot.
That's right.
And we also see such impact, especially in Southern Africa, where they've had, I think this is the 6th cohort that's currently happening. So through the 5 cohorts, we constantly see that growth of people serving in political office. So that's it. The numbers are being seen, they're visible. And of course, in the next 5 years, we'd be able to concretely submit what it looks like for East Africa. But for the first cohort, I can confidently say the impact is felt and the success is there.
That's right. I just might be joining your program.
You should.
But I just, oh my God, politics. You know what? Let me just stick to radio because I'm not so sure that I'm cut out for this as well. But now let's talk a little bit about the Pan-Africanism and the moment that we are currently in right now, democratically and politically. I mean, I had just stated there that we have leaders like Ibrahim Traore, he's a favorite of many, but of course he's also a non-favorite of many. But for what it means for African politics and the narrative that he's shifting across the continent of Africa and also beyond, what lessons can we take from the sort of I would call it Pan-Africanism, but I'm not. I'm maybe Traoreism is something that is going to come out of this. But yeah, what does him as a figure of the political future and present, of the democratic future and present of Africa mean, and how can we hope on to this wave and ensure that we are sustaining a conversation around leaders that have Africa at heart and they want to ensure that our systems are working for the good of the people?
So, so let's start with this. Ethical leadership and servant leadership has to go beyond self-interest. One of the greatest challenges that we face in Africa, this is one, is we don't have a lot of ethical leaders and people who practice servant leadership. And that in itself becomes a problem, because then democracy could be there in paper, but then we don't see it practically. And when we look at it from that lens, then we understand that as leaders, especially those who go through training on ethical leadership, you start learning how to prioritize the needs of your people and prioritizing what the future could look like before focusing on what's on what serves you right now.
Yes.
That's one.
Yeah.
Number two, the other very important learning is how old is Ibrahim Traore?
Very young.
Very young.
He's in
in his 30s.
Yes.
And that in itself is a call to young people to practice politics actively, not just from a point of championing for we need change or whatnot, but taking up their voters' card to go and vote. But even better, to be on the ballot themselves.
Yeah.
Because what we realize, and which is something that we can go back to on the conversations on democracies and what we've picked from Southern African countries,
Yes.
a lot of their ministers, a lot of their members of parliament are very young. They speak to the population of those countries right now. So it calls for more young people to step up and realize that actually you're not the leader of tomorrow. You're the leader of today. Because the challenge with thinking we are the leaders of tomorrow is tomorrow you'll be 70.
Right.
Because this time that you're taking to be the leader of tomorrow, your age is not constant.
Yeah,
It's
it's
constantly
moving. It's
yeah.
progressing, yes.
So it's taking up that step to be in the ballot. And the thing with every constitution, or at least the Kenyan constitution, if you can speak to that, is as long as you're 18 and above, you can run for office. Of course, there are other stipulations that you have to respond to. But what we pick from him is take up the opportunity now. Don't wait for later. Don't wait for when you're extremely popular. I think that's a challenge that comes with politics right now, that people think, unless I'm popular, unless people know me, I can't run. You're not running because you're popular. You're running because you have the best interests of people at heart.
Yes.
So I think for me, when it comes to Ibrahim in particular, is to look at servant leadership, put the needs of your people first. Africa is rich in resources. Africa is rich in skills. Why are we quick to export labor outside Africa instead of within Africa?
Yeah.
Why are we quick to export our mineral resources outside instead of within? And if you look at the labor skill that we have in Kenya, in Africa in general, engineers, lawyers, doctors, and whatnot, these are resources that can be used to help the continent. So looking at it from a perspective of ethical leadership, servant leadership, and youth taking up the spaces themselves, there is opportunity for democracy to mean more for Africa than just a name on paper, but actual practical steps to developing Africa for Africa by Africans.
Wow, that's well said. Right. So what would you say are the biggest frustrations, challenges, or threats to democracy across the continent? Because it is evident that we are struggling as a continent, as a country. We are struggling as a world. I think, with most people on the other side of the camp saying that democracy in Africa is it's a myth. it's not a reality. It's more mythical. But then again, you look at some advances and progressions that are happening also in other parts of Africa, and you're like, perhaps we need to stop reading way into it, and perhaps there could be some steps that we need to take. But there has to be before we take the steps, there's definitely the identification of some threats to democracy. So what are some of these, and how is Future Elect creating the solution to these democratic problems?
So there's something my regional director, Natasha Kimani, always says
Shout
about
out to
me.
Natasha.
I love research. I love a lot of research. And data from, I think, an Afrobarometer report 2023 suggests that there's a steady decline in trust in political leadership in Africa. People do not necessarily trust the electoral commissions in their countries. There's a low trust in their president. There's been a decline between 2011 to 2022. There's been a 10% decline.
And this is
in the
before
level
June
of
2024.
and this is before June, 25th June.
We will talk
2024.
about it.
And some of the challenges that become a threat to democracy in Africa in general, one is weak institutions. When institutions such as the judiciary or electoral commissions are under budgeted or they are dependent, they should be independent, but when it feels like they're dependent to certain structures, then the level of trust of the people in those particular institutions goes down. And it's something we constantly witness, not just in Kenya, not in Uganda, but across the continent. There seems to be a correlation between why such institutions that are meant to be independent get to be dependent. The underfunding, making sure that, this is how we will hold on to you is the first challenge. There are a lot of challenges in no particular order. Second thing is corruption. I think
Big one.
If there's one thing that we cannot speak to enough, it's corruption. The thing is, of course, there is progress that is being made in terms of people being aware of the individual roles that they play and how now they can shift from that and participate more in ethical leadership and also ethical citizenry, because it's not just about the leader. We also have a role to play.
Yes.
But that's the second challenge. I think the other challenge that comes up, especially for me, is entrenched political dynasties. And I'll use an example. We've witnessed when a member or rather a political figure dies, somehow the baton gets passed, not on merit, but because of familial relations and whatnot, which is problematic. Because then we keep then having the same cycle that is problematic in itself.
Yes.
Other issues are the ethnic and identity politics that we witness across the continent.
Yes.
There is a constant, the mtu wetu narrative. It's very problematic in itself, because when we vote on ethnic lines and tribes and identity, we do away with merit. But then what that results in is lack of development, because the person you've elected, you're not sure if they have your best interests at heart or if it's just about their own interests, So as a result of that, when this syndrome is constantly perpetuated in the people or sensationalized that it has to be this particular person that can lead, then people who are actually capable of leading miss out on those opportunities.
Yes.
The other thing we can look at is how expensive elections are, especially in places like East Africa, for example. It takes you, if you're vying for national government, about $200,000 to run for office. In Uganda and Tanzania, it's slightly lower because it's between 40 to 70 there, give or take. And the challenge with that is how many common mwananchis can afford that amount of money? So you see, it goes back to the entrenched dynasties that the people who can afford are the people who will constantly get these opportunities to run these slots. But while the challenges exist, opportunities also exist for us to address these challenges.
Yes.
For example, as young people, yes, the narrative that political seats are often clinched by particular dynasties exist. We've seen through social media how quickly we can mobilize ourselves and engage in conversations on accountability, calling out wrongdoing, calling out corruption, calling out lack of accountability, calling out lack of justice, or even delayed justice, because that in itself is lack of justice.
Yes.
So it's a matter of, one, young people continually organizing themselves and backing up younger candidates. So let's say I have skills in campaign management. I can volunteer my services. But if I also have the financial muscles, I can contribute, because elections in themselves are
very
expensive.
expensive,
So the question is not just about the challenges, but what can we do to ensure that more young people who are considerate about Africa take up the slots.
Yes.
And what we can do is bring the little you have. Is it your resource? Is it your skills? Is it your money? Bring it on the table and back up candidates based on merit, based on ethics, based on accountability, who can then shape the future of Africa. Because one thing I personally refuse to believe is Zoea.
Yeah.
I refuse
Get
to
used
believe
to
the
it.
concept of get used to it. We do not have to get used to it. Everything can change. It just starts with what we can do. But then again, that's why programs such as Future Elect are important.
Yes.
Because aside from training you and giving you the opportunity to understand the dynamics of politics, you're also equipped to understand that you, as an individual, in spite of what your social background could be, what your challenges could be, can take up space and run for office.
Right.
What Future Elect also does is the network, the alumni, and I'll give an example of Southern Africa,
Yeah.
the network that you get access to. You get access to people who've served in political parties, you get access to people who've run for office, and we noticed with the previous elections, people coming together and giving their resources. So this community of ethical leaders would say that my name is Maseke, I am good with social media. I'm going to build your brand as a politician for people to
Yes.
help you out.
Right.
So it's a matter of what can we bring to the table to address these challenges, because there is no such thing as a challenge too great in politics for us to have a future that we deserve. It's a matter of us constantly seeing what can we add to the table to shift the scale to favor us more in terms of accountability, in terms of justice, in terms of inclusivity, and all those other beautiful things that we'd love to see for the common citizen.
Right. Wow. I think I see we are really pressed for time here. So we've almost coming to the end of our conversation this morning. But let me just take stock of some of the conversations happening online. Desmond Ratemo says abductions. One of our own, Daniel Chonchorio, got abducted by Tanzanian authorities. Oh, I think he was responding to the joke. I shouldn't be joking about abductions, by the way. It's not a cool thing. All right. He says that at Maseke Rioba, a lit conversation and perspective. Thank you, Desmond. Your people are really supportive. They are out here.
Absolutely.
A whole
we
army.
believe in inclusive community.
Oh,
like
yes.
always stand up for each other.
For sure.
And that's what more young people need to
We
do.
need to,
Like,
especially if you're
come
gonna build democracies across the continent.
Yeah.
We need to be more collaborative than anything else. So yes, thank you so much, Desmond, for tuning in and choosing to spend the morning with us right here on Power Morning Drive this morning. Please subscribe to Power Radio so that you can be getting a notification every time we are live. Or we also have a comment here from Caleb Rioba. He says, "Thank you, Power Radio, for doing the Lord's work. Say no to abductions and injustice. We shall overcome." Absolutely, we shall. Thank you as well. Thank you so much. So as we wrap up the show this morning, I mean, it has been quite a robust conversation. I feel like we've touched on so many things here, which that's great. It's always good to get to hop on to some of the dimensional perspectives of the conversations that we are having. Where can people find Future Elect, and how can people plug in if they want to get in touch with you guys and even inquire about the programs? How do they go about that?
So I like to say, because of technology,
Yes.
the world is a very small global
village.
Eh?
Yes.
It doesn't matter if somebody's in Australia or Austria or whatnot, we can get to each other.
Right.
So let's start with the website.
Okay.
www.futureelect.org. You can get all the information with regards to all our programs from there. Additionally, anytime our call-outs are happening, they pop up there amongst, like, the first tab will always be about an application that's currently running. So we've already closed applications for our second cohort of the East Africa Public Leadership Program.
Right.
But as soon as they open, same to the Southern Africa one, they will be live on the website.
Okay.
Secondly, we are active on all social media pages. From Instagram to X to Facebook to Threads
Everywhere.
to TikTok.
Yes.
Futureelect.org, as well as Futureelect East Africa.
Okay.
So for those of you who are in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Sudan, South Sudan, DRC,
Rwanda.
Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi, you can get to us directly via all our social media pages. Aside from that, if you feel like you have a burning issue that cannot wait, always email us at info@futureelect.org.
Yeah.
And what I can promise you is our marketing and comms team will always respond to you. Like, they don't take
Like
seconds.
this.
So if you feel like this one is burning, I cannot wait, always reach out to us via email and your questions will be addressed to. So you can reach out to us via our website, our social media pages, and our email.
Amazing.
Yes.
Right. As we wrap up the show, your call to action, your clarion call for young people and the women of the continent of Africa, because again, the scope of the work that you are doing at Future Elect is to mainstream young people and women into these spaces. What would your clarion call be for them, specifically to tell them to write themselves in the story of the political and democratic landscape in Africa, because it needs them.
Absolutely.
Let's face it.
Absolutely.
It needs them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my call to action for every young person and woman across the continent is, I will start with the fact that there's nobody who is going to do it better than you could do it. So if you feel it in you to take up political spaces, do it.
Yeah.
Not because the space is too horrible, but because there's room for you to make meaningful change in your country, in your community, and whatnot. And it's not just about you being an active citizen, it's also about you being an active politician. It's high time that more young people get on the ballot and campaign for themselves to be in parliament, to be in local assemblies, to make change within their communities. So take up those spaces proudly and vigilantly without fearing that, I might lose. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as losing.
Yeah.
It's always a lesson learned as you prepare for the next cycle.
That's right.
The second thing I would absolutely champion for is for Pan-Africanism to be effective. A lot of political education that's from an African lens is going to be important. So when programs such as Future Elect come up, always apply to join them, because the curricula has taken a conscious look at Africa's needs and is responding to them. You're going to get a lot from that. Take up those opportunities, apply for those programs so that you can better equip yourself to be ready to run for office. And finally, if you absolutely cannot be on the ballot and you see somebody who has merit to be on the ballot, give your time, give your skills, give your resources to supporting those people. Because Africa will not be transformed, or democracy will not happen by us sitting back and saying, that person wants it, let them go for it. It will only happen when each of us takes an active role in shaping the future we want. So the time is now for you to take your space to change the world and change the face of democracy in Africa. I think that's the only thing I can tell everybody. The time is now.
The time is now. And lastly, what's your dream for Africa and democracy as Maseke personally?
I tend to be an idealist.
Okay.
So my dream,
We love idealists. We do. Nothing wrong about being an idealist. I am one.
You absolutely.
But when it's convenient.
Yeah.
Only when it's convenient. Yeah.
My dream for Africa is an Africa where we have shared political values, where accountability, inclusivity, and the needs of marginalized communities, that's very
That's really
personal.
close
That's
to your
very
heart.
personal for me, is seen. It's a space where justice is served not because of who you are, but because of the virtue that the fact that you're African means you can access justice.
Yeah.
It's where I can freely move from Liberia to Togo,
Let's talk
to
about
Burkina
that.
Faso,
Right?
to South Africa.
It would be so
as
cool.
an African.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
With no
if
passports.
with no passports.
Yeah.
Wait a minute on that. I think it's more about making the process seamless.
Yes.
Because of course, because of certain international relations, there are things that we can't do away with.
Yeah.
But as an African,
We
I
need
should
porous
be able,
borders.
exactly.
We need the porosity
Yeah.
of borders across, at least within Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
So having that ability to move around,
Yeah.
because that will not only improve the lives of Africans, but even our economic stability, our skills, trade, what's the workforce mobility. Can I move from here and contribute to this country and whatnot?
Right.
So it's the collaborative aspect of Africans for Africans.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You know, there's something that I keep saying. We can never have enough conversations about these things. One conversation is great, but sustaining the conversation is greater.
Absolutely.
And so now that you've made it to the Power Radio Show, you will keep coming, Cindy.
Absolutely.
You'll keep coming.
Absolutely.
So when we call you, will be here.
Just make the call
Yes.
and I will be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maseke, Rioba, asante sana, and thank you to your entire team. Shout out to your entire team. Send our regards to them, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing to build a sustainable democratic future for the continent of Africa. It is time, we need it, and so thank you so much for coming
And thank
through.
you for having us as
And
well.
for the gems that you dropped, you know,
Asante.
I've learned so much. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I mean, it was so amazing spending the morning with you guys. Thank you to each and every one of you that was able to tune in this morning. We have been speaking to Programs Officer at Future Elect East Africa, Ms. Maseke Rioba, and we have been looking at what does it take to build sustainable democratic futures as well as political landscapes across the continent of Africa. If you missed out on that conversation, not to worry, just head out to our YouTube channel on Power Radio. Please subscribe while at it and play back the conversation because it stays there. We are in the business of building a whole archive, a knowledge hub, so that whenever you want to look at what was happening 10 years ago, this moment, you can be sure to find it there as well. And so, yeah, that was our time this morning. But before I let you go, I leave you in the very safe and capable hands of Caroline Murote. She comes in 11 a.m. with the Shiversation show, and it's just conversations. Again, today she's going to be talking to David Waithaka, and they are going to be looking at how do we ensure that we are opening up the space for women to plug into global leadership as well. So that's definitely a conversation that you should be sure to catch as well. So it's starting from 11 a.m. all the way till 1 p.m. And then later on, our dynamic duo, DJ CJ Kenya alongside Elijah Mose, come in with Gift of Gab for everything that is happening in the underground hip-hop scene in Kenya. So 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. is definitely where you need to be. I will leave you right now, but I will see you on Friday. And this Friday, join me from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And we shall be looking at meaningful participation of young people in politics. I shall be hosting the one and only Eugene Oponyo. He is the CEO and founder of Wazalendo political movement. It's a green movement, so green political movement, the nexus of green politics, and environmental sustainability. And so we shall be looking at how do we ensure that young people are participating in the democratic and youthful processes, but in a meaningful way. So see you then. Until then, take care. God bless. I'ma see you, and I am out. Bye bye.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Akia, ninaoga jamani, ninaoga, sielewi nini inatendeka, kwa sababu vile wajitolea kunipenda mimi sijazoea. Ninawaza na tena ninapanga vile mimi naweza kutoroka. Hisia zangu ambazo zinapanda zinanifanya kuogopa. So perfectly, how can it be now that you're with me? I can't seem to believe that this is for real. Unakazana, nakataa, wajaribu kusukuma, nakataa, nimechenga ukuta kaziba, ufa uwezi ingia.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Shauri mwenzi unataka, nimekuwa na waza na kuwaza daily, strika unanipa.
From sunrise to sunset,